Molson Coors said that they plan to cut supplier diversity quotas and DEI-based training programs, as well as sever ties with the Corporate Equality Index of the LGBTQ plus advocacy group Human Rights Campaign. But wait, there's more. Ford Motor Company also joined in. This joins the likes of Harley Davidson, Lowe's, and John Deere, who are scaling back diversity, equity, inclusion efforts.
Hide your kids. Lock the doors. You're listening to HR's most dangerous podcast. Chad Sowash and Joel Cheeseman are here to punch the recruiting industry right where it hurts. Complete with breaking news, brash opinion, and loads of snark. Buckle up, boys and girls. It's time for the Chad and Cheese Podcast.
Oh, yeah. Shazam and abracadabra, Holmes. It's the Chad and Cheese Podcast. I'm your co-host, Joel Beetlejuice Cheeseman.
And I am your guest host, JT, the Talent Whisperer O'Donnell.
Ooh, and on this episode, Oyster makes a pearl, Indeed hates old people, and LinkedIn proves it's as dumb as ZipRecruiter. Let's do this.
Hospitality is the heart of our society. It brings people together to share great food, drinks, and experiences. But successfully managing a restaurant or hotel is no easy feat. That's where Harri comes in. Harri is the frontline employee experience platform that helps you build, manage, and engage great teams. With Harri, managers can easily find and hire top talent, manage timekeeping, and communicate with employees at any time from any place. Candidates and team members can quickly and efficiently apply for jobs, swap shifts, and access important information entirely from their mobile devices. And Harri's robust employee engagement tools make team members feel more connected than ever. With Harri, as an owner or operator, you get a bird's eye view of your business, from turnover cost, labor cost, employee sentiment, compliance risk, and team performance. Run your business better by understanding the power of your people. Because when your team is the heart of your business, Harri is the heartbeat. See how it transforms your business.
JT O'Donnell is in the house. The mouth from
Hello.
Portsmouth. What's going on?
Oh my gosh. I'm never going to live that down. How are you?
It's so easy. It's so easy. It's so easy. I'm doing well. Chad just got back from Portugal. He's a little jet lagged, needs a little break. We got Nashville next week. So he's taking a little break, giving the reins to you. And I'm super excited to have you on the show, have a different voice, just a different environment for me is going to be nice. But a lot of our listeners don't know you. We did an interview a while back. Give us who JT O'Donnell is, and feel free to go into personal stuff and then talk about what you guys are doing at work daily.
Yeah. So I was in the staffing and recruiting industry by way of Office Specialist, Modus, Randstad, and Renaissance Worldwide, hopped to the other side and decided to become an advocate for the worker. Basically, I spent the last 20 years teaching job seekers the opponent's playbook. So when I call myself the Talent Whisperer, I know what job seekers really, really, really want. And I can't wait to get into it today because I think the reckoning is coming. It's the job seeker's turn. Even in this market, I'm loving the disruption that AI is causing and just can't wait for people to realize that we have not been addressing candidate experience the way we should be. We've been building it for the employers, not for the job seeker.
You mean they don't just want money? I always thought it was just give me cash and leave me alone.
Yeah, right. No, unfortunately not. Yeah.
So you have a really interesting perspective. Chad and I obviously keep our eye on the industry and the vendor side and everything, but you have your finger on the pulse of the job seeker. Give me sort of your current state of the job seeker. Like what technologies have you interested? What are they talking about? Give us a sense of what's going on the job seeker side of things.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing we need to understand is that the job seeker now, thanks to TikTok, the TikTokification of all things, actually believes they're going to discover their next job. They really believe that that's going to come into their path, that they don't have to go and proactively seek it, and that it's going to be organizations that fit the things that they're looking for, right? And they've got a long list, longer than we've ever seen before. So that's the first thing I think employers need to understand. Secondly, the hot topic is not authenticity, which I hear so many companies trying to focus on with their employer brand, their EVPs. It is authentication. Job seekers want to know that you are who you say you are. They have been burned one too many times from recruiting tactics and candidate experience tactics that have made them feel stupid, and they are very distrustful, and they need authentication that you are who you say you are, that the job is real, that the recruiter's real. And so that's where this gets super interesting, because they'll pass. I'm just seeing it left and right. Top talent will not bother, and burn them once and they have a very long memory.
Interesting. So this whole like the job will find you thing, and we heard this. We've been hearing this for a while. Where is this born from? Is this the TikTok algorithm that serves you up exactly what you want, when you want it, how you want it? Like, are we just getting to a point where we expect everything in the world to give us what we want, when we want, how we want, including job search?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think we're unrealistic to ask for it. It's not unrealistic at all. The algorithms are intelligent enough to be able to put in your path the things that you're interested in. And so what excites me is this: if you think about this future where literally you're a candidate just talking about what you know, right? You know, this, you open your phone app and you say, hey, you know, it says, tell me about your day. You know, what'd you work on today? What are you excited about? It's capturing all that information. And it's documenting it for you, right? No more making a resume or even a LinkedIn profile per se. It's capturing all that. And then it's saying, hey, you said something cool here in 60 seconds. Let's push that out. And now recruiters are finding you based on that, and they're knocking on your door. Like, that is coming. But it's going to require that authentication, and video is going to play a huge, huge part in that.
Yeah, and we know not all algorithms are made the same.
Of the time, it works every time.
Hey, listener. As you've heard from Joel on several occasions, we haven't been hugged much as kids, and it would really, really help if you just clicked the subscribe button on YouTube. Like 80% of our watchers, of our viewers, they watch us every week, but they don't subscribe. Joel think it's commitment issues. I think it's much like us. You need a hug, and that's what we're here for. Not to mention, you subscribe and then also go to chadcheese.com/free and get a Chad Cheese t-shirt. Yes, this is a double whammy.
So the other side of that, the organic, being real. So I assume you're telling me that the stock photo on my career site isn't organic enough for the job seeker of today. And historically, it's been like, oh, I'm going to go to Glassdoor and find out what's going on. Like, are review sites still important? Are the kids beyond that? Are they doing something else? How can a company be real, and how can the job seeker smell bullshit?
Yeah, frequency and relevancy. So going over to Glassdoor, if they can't see a bunch of reviews in the last month, it's not accurate to them. And on top of that, those reviews were written by who? So when I keep coming back to this idea of authentication using video, you're going to need to produce a lot of content on a frequent basis as a way to document that you are who you say you are as an employer, and that these opportunities are real and that they're accessible. Otherwise, they will not believe it. On the flip side, you'll be able to expect the same thing from the candidate. Yeah. But candidates are not a fan of autonomous video. I should make that really clear. They hate being sent a link, being forced to answer questions, and then not knowing where their information, their video is going. So you're going to see it fall on the candidate side. They're going to take ownership. Like a company that I've been counseling for a year and a half now, McCoy, it's a phone app. It was built by an ex-Disney, ex-Tinder, and ex-Googler. And the reason it's so successful, I honestly believe, is because it didn't come from the recruiting industry. They actually solved for the job seeker and built them a way to record videos and send them directly to a hiring manager who can look at them, and then they get notified, right? So that kind of technology is already being downloaded by the thousands and being used by people to land jobs. It's only a matter of time.
All I heard there was former Tinder. Talk to me about the phenomenon of not giving a shit about anonymity. The stories about people who record company calls about layoffs and taking the HR department to task around why you're laying me off. I've been here, like I just passed my 90-day review, posting videos with like insider footage about the company. Like my generation, and I assume yours as well, never would have thought of that, doing that in a million years as a young person. Like, why don't they care about getting pinched for putting themselves out there?
Because if you've ever heard the phrase, there's three sides to every story, there's yours and the truth is somewhere in the middle, right? This generation says, well, if I can record it in the moment and put it out there, I can crowdsource how people see and react to that to validate my own thoughts on this, as opposed to I'm in there, I walk away, I say my point of view, and I'm being told I'm a liar or I'm not telling the truth. This is about them documenting it as proof. And again, crowdsourcing it so that collectively we're coming up with, well, what's the right take on what you just saw there? And they're all for it. They're tired of being, finger wagged at, right? Or told to pipe down. This is their way to prove it and to validate themselves.
You might remember the Sherwin-Williams story from a few years ago about the Sherwin-Williams employee who would go to social media and mix paints up and put blackberries in paint he was a social media phenomenon. They ended up firing him. Have we moved beyond that point, or are companies by and large super scared of social media and their employees getting on it? Are we past that, hopefully?
We're past it. I think that they're sophisticated enough. Companies can put things in place to say, look, stuff that disparages us, that's negative, we're not going to support that. But if you want to do something that's a creative extension and allows people to understand what it's like to work there, by all means. What's really interesting now is that companies can then take that content and use it as advertising. Right. So now I've got a way to boost that video, take it viral for my employee, and help hundreds of thousands of people see what it's really like to work there. And I think we need to talk about that, because Gen Z, the secret to recruiting Gen Z right now is they need to see themselves in that environment. If they don't see their own representation, they're hesitant. They absolutely were raised on this idea of identify. If you can't self-identify in it, then, there's probably something wrong there.
Winning. A generation that's winning. You had a post recently, and I want to get to this before shout outs real quick. The automation of applying to jobs and the lazy apply, you can probably name a handful more than I can of services that promise job seekers will apply to thousands of jobs. 1,000, you'll get 50 interested, you'll get 10 interviews, whatever. Like, companies are scared to death of this new technology. Like, give us your take on what's going on and how you see it sort of unfolding.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So I was talking to a VP of a Fortune 1000 who said, we posted a client success job, $100,000 a year, fully remote work. And in 48 hours, we had 3,000 applicants. And we shut it down because the percentage of applicants that were such an exact match we'd never seen before. So now our recruiters start calling them and find out they're all fake. People had used AI to generate exact matches. They threw out all 3,000 applicants. Everyone got tossed. And they went back to, brace yourself, hey, everybody, if you know somebody internally who took the time to reach out to you, to back channel to you, to get to you about this job, we'll consider them for the interview. So is that what we're getting? For me, like I said, I'm excited about the disruption because I think so many people are trying to build AI tech that's just going to bomb and break this even further. It will rise up to human connection through authentication, which, again, I keep coming back to the video aspect of that is really a big deal. But let me tell you also, job seekers, everyone thinks, oh, it's the application process that's the problem. It's the resumes. It's not. The number one issue job seekers have right now is they can't understand if they're a fit for your job or not. I can't believe we're still there, right? With all the discussion around writing job descriptions. That's the problem. Written job descriptions are the problem. And matching themselves to a job based on their skills, not their background, their experience, but on their skills, that is what has been missing for years. So I'll give you an idea of some exciting technology. The folks over at JobLeap.ai, former Recruitix, Josh, Pasith, Mark, we're partnering with them, and they're building a custom application for us where they're taking the tools that we've built for job seekers to help them self-assess their value, like how do they like to create work, how they like to add value on the job. They go through a little bot conversation, and it's going to present to them 10 jobs that are currently available and tell them why they're a fit.
Yeah.
Then they look at it and go, yes, no, yes, no. It listens to it. It fine tunes it. This is the kind of thing that job seekers have never had. So when we start doing that for job seekers, they're not going to self-validate. I am a fit for this job. I have the confidence. I will apply. That is not happening, but it is with this technology faster than you think.
It's so interesting because we have this ecosystem that's developed on the job board publishing promotion side. There's an incentive for traffic and applies. And because if you're a job site that doesn't produce clicks and views and applications, then you suck. So there's an incentive there to let the masses in and do whatever they want. Now you have technology that enables them to do that. And now you have companies saying, wait a minute, 3,000 that were all thrown out. So like something has to give. And it sounds like the technology that you're kind of telling us about might be exactly what the doctor ordered on that. So real quickly, that's workitdaily.com. If you want to know more, that's not the last time we'll mention Work It Daily, but JT's doing some really interesting stuff on the job seeker side, which leads us to
Take off, will you? We're doing our movie. Don't wreck our show, you hoser.
That's right. We have a new sponsor for shout-outs. That's right. We are whores, JT, and we will sell anything. So we had this idea. Keeyora, got my hat on here, formerly RecText. They're a Canadian company out of Vancouver. They're like, hey, what can we do that's for your audience that will like spin us in a nice way? And I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do maple syrup because you're Canada and everyone loves maple syrup from Canada, but we're going to age it in Pappy bourbon barrels from Kentucky. So this is 23-year-old bourbon barrels aging your maple syrup, JT. And I know your neck of the woods there in New England probably would love something like that. So if you want some of this love from Canada, you got to go to chadcheese.com, click the free link, and you could get some very fine maple syrup from our friends at Keeyora, the easy text recruiting solution, which leads us to my first shout out, JT, robots. Robots are having a moment. They've been having a moment for a while, but it's sort of coming to a head. There was a story last week about Apple getting into the robot game. They seem to be skewing towards the at-home robot that will take out the trash, do the dishes, do the sort of home maintenance things that everyone hates doing. And now there's a new company called 1X Technologies. They're out of Norway, and everything that comes out of the Scandias are freakish and weird. And this is no different. This looks like a person in a robot uniform, but it's actually a robot. At the end of the video, the robot kind of puts its arm around the woman who's the owner of the robot, and it's very disturbing to me. Like it's almost a relationship kind of thing. And what scares me most about the robots is the day that I can't take out the trash is the day that my wife has like no use for me whatsoever. So I feel like the robotization of everything is going to kill the species. The sex robots are coming for the men. The trash taking robots are coming out for the women. And in the middle of this is the destruction of the human race. So shout out to robots. It's fun to watch our destruction, and especially if it comes out of Norway. So that goes to my first shout out. What do you have, JT? You got a more sobering shout out, but give it to us.
I do. My shout out is to Seatbelts. So this is a public service announcement to everyone out there. I was on a business trip 3 weeks ago in Houston, going to the airport to the speaking engagement. My Uber was hit and run on the highway and thrown into a semi-tractor. When I was done spinning, tossing, there was no car. The back of the car was gone. And the only reason I'm here is because I had a seatbelt on. And so I've just been telling everyone, because a lot of business travelers out there, you get in the back of an Uber, a Lyft, a taxi, whatever it is, and you think someone else is driving. I don't need to put my seatbelt on. That's the only reason I'm here. I'm in a lot of pain. I'm in a lot of physical therapy, cracked ribs, but I'm here. I'm alive. And I just can't say, I'm so grateful for seatbelts. So please wear them, folks. And tell everyone you know.
And yeah. I'm guilty of it. I get in the back seat. I don't think about it. I got my backpack. If I'm traveling, I've got my suitcase. Like, do it, folks. Yep. I mean, like, this shit happens. Your life can change on a dime. JT's incredibly lucky, but an inch difference or a little bit faster, or whatever. Like, who knows how this could have ended. So that's a great public service announcement. Shout out from you. Wear your seatbelts, everybody, and we wish you a fast recovery and better health for sure. Yeah, I know your family's relieved that worked out for the best. My last shout out goes to Kevin O'Leary. You might know him as Mr. Wonderful from the Shark Tank series. Anyway, he's not a fan of this trending right to disconnect law that's taking over in many countries. A few of them are France, Spain, Australia now, much of the usual suspects of the countries that give workers time off and healthcare and all that good stuff. Well, anyway, the right to disconnect is essentially, if you're off the clock, your boss can't bother you. Or if they do bother you, you can say or you can ignore them without getting fired. You can tell them I'm disconnecting, whatever. His take is, look, if this is a stupid law, this is ridiculous. If anyone does this with me, I'm just going to fire them. And I'm sure they can fire them without giving a reason. Like it is for disconnect, but I'm going to do it for something else. So I'm curious, you talk to a lot of young people, obviously. Is Mr. Wonderful a dinosaur that is just eventually going to go away and things are going to change? Or is he more of an opinion that a lot of people have and bosses, no matter what the industry or the age is?
There might be a lot of people with that opinion, but it's a dinosaur. I am a firm believer in it. I think it's a great thing to put in place. As someone who back in 2018 took my entire company fully flexible 35-hour work week, just because of the level of the mentality, the work that we do, and saw a double in the output, in the results of the business. I know the importance of constraining, not just to give your employees a break, but also, to be perfectly honest, managers have to do a better job of managing their time. You should be able to figure out what you need from your employee during those set hours and not have to do it at 10 o'clock at night, you know? And so that piece of it is really important. What does that say about you and your own ability to manage work-life balance and be healthy if you can't manage that? And I think the younger generation, Gen Z in particular, this is like a moral dilemma that they're facing because they are very, very dialed into this. They only want to work so much. They really are looking at their entire life and how to live it very mindfully, fully, nurturing the other aspects of their life. That is not going to go away. That generation is going to build businesses around that, and they're going to attract a whole lot of talent along with them. So this archaic, over-the-top, work yourself to death. I mean, did you see, it just came out in the news, they found a woman 4 days dead at her desk. Nobody even knew. You know, like this kind of stuff just isn't right. We have to be way more mindful of taking care of our people and letting them walk away, letting them unplug. So yeah. So Jamie Dimon, DJ Saul, Mr. Wonderful, JT has a message for you.
You are really dumb, for real.
Well, when people are in silent mode, we hope that they take a chance to register for more free stuff from Chad and Cheese. I mentioned the maple syrup, but we have a lot more than that, kids. We have free bourbon. There's a selection from me and Chad that we'll send to you. That is sponsored by our friends at Tex Kernel, bought by Bullhorn recently. So we'll promote both of those guys. And we also have free beer from our friends at Aspen Tech Labs. And if it's your birthday, JT, if it's your birthday, you could win rum from our friends at Plum.
Will Ferrell's my favorite, like just my favorite. This
he's
thing
our favorite too.
time.
Trust me, if you listen to the show. So celebrating another trip around the sun, our listeners: Alicia Buchler, Lucas Roscoe, Katie Gentry, John Tehan, Kevin Lowe, Alan Bourne, Laura Martinelli, Ruka Shaw, Nilos Labatis, Paul Norman, Zach Martin, Kerry Quass, and Matt NAS for life are all celebrating another trip around the sun. And speaking of trips, Chad and I are on the road, as you know. If you want to find out where we are, just go to chadcheese.com, fill out the free stuff first, and then go check out our events calendar. We're going to be in Nashville next week for RecFest. We're in the Shaker Green Room. We're doing the Redneck Riviera with Job Pixel video solution you're probably familiar with, some others. Yeah. We're going to be at HR Tech in the Smart Recruiters booth. We're going to be interviewing some great folks there. We're going to be in New Orleans later at the HR Gumbo conference. So Chad and I are going to be everywhere. Go to events at our webpage to see more. Also, JT, you're on YouTube. I don't know if you knew that or not, but recording this will also be on YouTube. Nice. Make sure you subscribe to that. We have some great shorts, gives you highlights of the show. We have some exclusive content. Just check out youtube.com/@ChadCheese. And lastly, but not leastly, it's fantasy football time, JT. That's right. We had our draft last night. We have our lineups. And here is the breakdown and the grades from best to worst of how we all drafted. Well, our friend Chad Sowash came in with an A+ grade, which, I think that's the death knell of any draft. If you get an A+, you're definitely not winning the league. But we also had another A+ with Jackson Dahlquist, Keith Sonderling, the commish of the EEOC, he got an A+ as well. So those are three people that will not be winning the Fantasy Football League, sponsored by our friends at Factory Fix. Adam Gordon, one of our second favorite, Scott, whined so much about playing. We're like, fuck it, just let him play. He got an A in his draft, and he auto-drafted. He was asleep in Scotland, drunk on scotch, I'm sure, while that was happening. Sean Horton gets a B, David Stiefel, B-, Jen Tharp, C-. I got a D+, which means I'm in the running to win the league. Dean Macro got a D+, Christy Lisbon, D-. Dina Perro, who won the league last year, got an F. And Laura Martinelli, who I just mentioned in the birthday shout-outs, also got an F. So happy birthday. You get an F. You get an F for that one. And that is all of our housekeeping announcements, which brings us to...
Topics!
I love it. I love it. All right. Let's talk about jobs. U.S. job openings dropped to 7.67 million in July, lower than expected, signaling a cooling labor market. This decrease, the lowest since January of 2021, alongside a rise in unemployment to 4.3%, suggests a potential economic slowdown influencing expectations for Federal Reserve rate cuts. JT, what are your thoughts on the cooling labor market?
Yeah, it was cooling over a year ago. As somebody who coaches job seekers, this has been the fact that they're only now sharing this. It drives me nuts. So 818,000 jobs miscalculated in terms of what was available. They're saying by the time they're done that, closer to 1 million. We've been saying this for a long time. The rate of underemployment is very high. So you are talking an incredible, it is a white collar job recession right now. I mean, just before I got on with you, 27,000 tech job layoffs in August of this year. Like, people do not understand how much the contraction is happening right now. And they're going out there going, why is it so hard to find a job? Why can't I get any calls back? Because it is a bad job market. And it's going to stay this way for a while. And it's frustrated me because I've had people coming and saying, what's wrong with me? You know, they're telling me it's 4% unemployment rate, 2 jobs for every 1 person. No, it isn't. It's not what's been going on. Maybe in jobs that couldn't pay your bills and that have nothing to do with your skill set, but it has been this bad for a while. And just for them to finally open up about that, I feel a bit vindicated, as I've been saying this for a while. But yeah, it's not going to get better for a stretch here. And I think that's going to be tough.
I think you're saying you're not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe, JT.
I am not.
So this is fascinating because, Chad and I don't want to say we represent the older employed established set, but we kind of do. And I think your perspective of young people who don't have assets, who are getting that first job or just coming out of college, don't have stocks, don't have stuff, they're hurting. And so whereas we look at this and we do a show with Toby Dayton, he talks a lot about, he looks at jobs and says, hey, this is exactly what the Fed wants to happen. They want higher unemployment. They want to slow things down, like make it more expensive to borrow money. So from a Fed's perspective, the soft landing is happening. This is what's supposed to happen. Then they're going to reduce rates. People are going to borrow money again. People will hire again and things will be fine. So your perspective of, like people are hurting is real. So I appreciate that perspective. I have to think that in a political season, this sort of throws a fly in the ointment. So you have Trump saying, don't you dare cut rates before or until after the election. And I'm sure on the other side, it's like they want rates reduced. So the stock market goes back, people start borrowing, people can afford houses, et cetera. So I'm not sure anything big is going to happen before the election. What's your take on how your audience views Trump as president, Kamala's president? Do they say it doesn't matter who's in power, or do they feel like each one does a separate thing? Are they split on political lines in terms of employment?
I mean, there's just overall general dissatisfaction with both candidates, both sides. There's the lack of confidence that job seekers have right now is sky high, and rightfully so. They've not seen anything that indicates that it's going to get better for them. So, whether we cut rates, you're not going to see the effects of that. The other thing I think we're not thinking about is that AI is literally contracting jobs. Where you used to need 10 marketers, you now can do it with 1. And so while we talk about the bigger the disruption, the bigger the innovation, hey, a lot of really talented people are going to start companies because they got laid off. They've got some cash. They're going to start a company. Yeah. That's going to happen, but they're not going to hire 100 people. They're going to build a $10 million company with 4 people. So there's not going to be the massive amount of job creation there in the white collar sector that people are anticipating. This is what I think people don't understand and what's going to drag it out through 2025.
Yeah. And is there a lot of trepidation around, I mentioned robots and shoutouts. How nervous are young people that are doing warehouse jobs, that are delivering pizzas, that are doing sort of those frontline jobs, worried about Flippy doing the burger, job versus me? We're hyper focused on this, so we understand the ramifications and how this is really coming. But you're talking about people that are working in jobs every day, and all they care about is getting through their day and collecting a paycheck.
They're not thinking strategically about their career. You know, for those individuals, college educated, again, white collar, we're having a lot of conversations like, if you aren't figuring out how AI is part of your work solution, you're going to be like, oh, you're going to be removed. You have to figure out how you're going to be the user of the AI and create a more powerful, more valuable product. You're a business of one, you're a service provider. But to all those hourly jobs you're talking about, those individuals aren't thinking that way. And so this stuff comes out of the blue to them and says, what, you know, why are they doing this to me? Well, we've known it's been coming for a while.
Tons of TA recruiters listen to this show. Like, what is your take on the future of the recruiting profession?
Yeah. So like any profession, I think recruiters need to really be worried, because I see this technology as clearing out anybody that is not a high performer in the space and understands the job seeker and what it's going to take to get that top talent to respond to you. And I'll give you a great example. Recruiter bots are the nemesis of job seekers. And I know how many talent acquisition specialists on here are guilty of using it, right? I do a search. It pulls up thousands of people that fit these criteria, sends them all this personal email that says, hey, I looked at your profile and I think you're a fit. Can you message me back your resume and times for an interview? Job seekers drop everything to respond back at lightning speed, only to be ghosted in their mind, because what really happened is that's the first time the recruiter looked at who responded and then decides if they want to contact them or not. This happens every single day. What you don't understand is that job seeker, when they get ghosted and they come to me and my team and says, I sent them everything. Why aren't they responding to me? I followed up with them 3 times and I explained that was a bot. They're humiliated. They will never work for that company and they will tell 15 of their friends. And that's what people aren't thinking about on the tech side. They're running to implement AI and to build all this tech to make it easier on the recruiting side, but you're not thinking about the implications on the other side. And so I would warn people in the recruiting space, the contraction's coming. You need to be thinking about and understanding the job seeker. Really understanding the job seeker is going to be the name of the game for you.
So you're bearish on conversational AI, chatbots,
I am.
sort of the
Huge.
You are. Okay.
I am big time, but not just chatbots. I'm all about authentication. Forget authenticity. Like that's been the conversation for far too long. Authentication. You are going to be using video. Both sides are going to be using video to authenticate they are who they say they are and to drive those human to human interactions at scale in real time. That's exciting to me. You know, I can give you a crazy futuristic view if you want to hear it. That's not 40 years away. It's 2 years away, where there will be no resumes anymore. You're documenting what you do for work. You're talking into an app, you know, McCoy. It's grabbing all that. It's posting for you. And then recruiters are finding you based on that AI match. And all of a sudden, the right recruiters are in your inbox offering you the right jobs. Like that is coming. Where does the recruiter fit in that? Right? How do they drive that?
Well, I'd like to talk more about this, but I need to get off the ledge because you are bringing me down. Let's talk about popping some champagne at the Oyster headquarters. Oyster, a startup focused on global employment solutions, has raised $59 million in a Series D funding round, bringing its total to $286 million and giving it a $1.2 billion valuation. That's right. Unicorn alert. Oyster CEO Tony James in a blog post said, quote, "It will also empower us to accelerate our roadmap, scale our impact, and remain the first choice for employers looking for a specialized global employment experience." JT, before we get to you, Chad could not help himself. He had to sound off on this new race. Let's hear what Chad had to say.
Wow. 59 million. Not a down round, kids. Not a down round. And slightly expanded their unicorn status, which means
fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows.
I've not heard that in a while. Well, you might have heard it right before this because Joel likes to play it. Although I had to get it in there. Anyway, enough of that. So congrats to the Oyster team. And apparently, per TechCrunch, quote, the new funding will be used to accelerate development of the platform and expand more generally, end quote. What the hell does that mean, Oyster? Expand more generally? Well, personally, I have no clue. But let's focus in on where and how Oyster should accelerate development by comparing them to Deal, who has reported $500 million in ARR and a, listen for it, kids, $12 billion valuation. Deal is the strongest and fastest horse in the EOR platform race. But why is Deal moving so much faster? Well, Deal is moving faster down the funnel. Deal is offering new services faster. Deal is widening their total addressable market faster, which is why their valuation is so much larger. So how is Deal achieving this faster than Oyster and really the rest of the market? Easy answer: acquisitions. Smart acquisitions. Deal has tallied 8 acquisitions, where Oyster has 1 from 4 years ago, which means Deal understands the strategic growth through smart acquisition is the way to go because it complements their current platform, expands services in a faster way to land and expand its customer base. So for Oyster, this is the time. Right now is the time. We are currently in a market that is made for consolidation. Oyster should focus on growth strategies built on smart acquisition, not trying to build it themselves. Acquire tech, acquire platforms and portfolios. After you've landed those companies, expand all portfolios into a much larger total addressable market footprint. Again, congrats to Oyster and the team over there for this amazing round of funding. And last but never least, thank you so much, JT, for sticking in or stepping in for me. I say sticking in because I'm thinking about Cheeseman, who's always sticking his nose into stuff. Anyway, thanks so much, JT. You're the best. So wash out.
All right, JT, your take on this, and you have an interesting perspective because you were an advisor with an Oyster competitor.
I was so the original founder of Remote. I was an advisor back in 2015, and I saw it coming and couldn't be more exciting. And a lot of people say, wait, is Remote going away? Oh, no. Remote is here to stay. Mm-hmm. It is allowing for globalization. It's allowing us to access talent that we couldn't have otherwise gotten. To me, that's always exciting. I like that there's several players in the space. I think you also need that too, right? You can watch what they do, and they like a horse race. You see who's going to win, but congrats to Oyster. It's makes sense. Everything Chad said, I ditto.
All right.
We were pretty hard on Oyster for a while. Chad and I sat here during the pandemic. We saw all these global platforms get millions and millions of dollars, huge valuations, and we were like, this is crazy. But we also said, who's going to come out? Who's going to be Coke? Who's going to be Pepsi? Who's going to be Dr. Pepper and Fanta? And like, how is this all going to shake out? I think we can both agree that Deal is by far and away the Coke of this space. But Oyster had some layoff rounds in 23 and this year. They felt a little bit like disjointed and lost at sea. And then we had Jason Corsello on the podcast. He's an investor at Acadian Ventures, who was an early investor in Oyster. And I don't know if it was online, but we either in the green room or we got it on tape. But basically, he said, you guys are kind of being hard on Oyster. They're actually doing a lot of cost cutting. They're creating a lot of efficiencies. Like, I don't bury them just yet. And we respect Jason a whole lot, and we should have listened to him. And here we have a new round of money from Oyster. Still a long way to go. The company has grown 7x over the last 2 years, and they're serving 1,400 customers worldwide. A little bit of context of that: 1,400 versus what Deal claims as 35,000 customers. So Oyster is a distant second. We haven't heard from Remote in a while. Velocity Global's been quiet. We have some European players in Personio and HiBob, but this is a really interesting space. But Oyster definitely gave themselves a leg up with this round of money. Let's take a quick break, and we'll talk a little bit DEI when we come back. All right, JT, we could do a whole show on this, but Chad and I have been talking about the death of DEI and companies abandoning it and the Supreme Court. And so it's a complex issue, but this week alone, Molson Coors said that they plan to cut supplier diversity quotas and DEI-based training programs, as well as sever ties with the Corporate Equality Index of the LGBTQ plus advocacy group Human Rights Campaign. But wait, there's more. Ford Motor Company also joined in. This joins the likes of Harley Davidson, Lowe's, and John Deere, who are scaling back diversity, equity, inclusion efforts. JT, what are your thoughts? And specifically, what are job seekers' opinions of what companies are doing here?
No, and you've talked about it here before. This seems to be so reflective of a market, right? When the market starts to contract and businesses are really looking at the bottom line, it gets really easy for them to say this just isn't necessary. And we've seen this before. We know it. Here's my silver lining. Here's what I truly believe as someone who works with so many job seekers and a lot of Gen Z. They were raised to look for inclusiveness. Mm-hmm. They've been exposed to this, talked about it, want to see it, question when it's not there. And I just have to believe and want to believe that as they become the next generation of managers and business owners, that'll just be organic to them. In the same way that all the women that I know will now immediately look and say, is there a female on the board? What's the female leadership look like? We took a long time for us as women to pay attention to that and to call it out. And I think that these generations are going to call out that diversity. I hope. Right. And I certainly am going to nurture that every step of the way. It's a big part of what we coach too. So hopefully that'll help on the back end.
Yep.
Another one.
This is an ongoing conversation on the podcast. Mm-hmm. When the Supreme Court struck down affirmative action, the memories of George Floyd had faded. The pandemic was out. To me, it gave companies an out to say this is not our thing. Yep. It became politicized. It became these businesses don't, these businesses do. And let's be honest, when John Deere or Harley Davidson says we're out, how many of their customers are saying, oh, well, fuck that. I'm not driving a Harley Davidson anymore. They're not interested in diversity. And none of them. So it's become if our customers don't give a shit, or if our customers don't want us to do it because they have these political views that are opposite of what we were doing, then you get in this divide of, oh, well, these products are for these types of people and these products are for these types of people. It did shock me that Microsoft sort of said the quiet part out loud recently when they said that this is sort of a bad investment. We're getting out of this. They fired their DEI teams and they were spending a lot of money doing that. When a company like Microsoft, who services everybody, says we're out, to me, that is a real red flag that this is a trend that we're seeing.
Yeah. And what about desensitization to it too, right? We've just seen so much controversy, so much that I think people just start to get numb to it too. And then it doesn't matter anymore. They just don't care. They want to move on to the next topic. And to me, I've seen a lot of that. Just I
think if companies had their druthers, they wouldn't have to be political at all. They wouldn't have to take a stand. They wouldn't have to do these things. But society says that they do or don't. And to your point of if the workforce of the future says, look, you need to take a stand and I need to agree with your stance if I'm going to work for you and support your efforts, then that is a really interesting quandary for employers. What do we do? And I think you see some saying look, we're not here to make political statements. We're here to make a product that our customers love, and that's it. Right. And I think a lot of job seekers will be like, okay, that's fine. I can be political in my own time. And that's a whole other ball of wax. I do wonder how much of this is a bet on who's going to win the presidency. Because I do think that if Trump comes in, we'll see more of this sort of abandonment. We'll see more of a meritocracy opinion, and we'll see less regulation. Kamala's been on record about pay equity, calling out, naming names, so I think that scares a lot of employers to death. A lot of job seekers and common folk, if you will, probably love that. But I think the politically will be really interesting. If Trump gets in, remember in 2016, we saw a lot of commercials that were sort of America first. We built American. We're not Chinese. I think we'll lean back to that. If Kamala gets in, I think it'll be kind of a trend, a slower trend to where we are. Interestingly, with colleges, we're just starting to see where colleges are landing with bringing in new students. And MIT recently released their freshman class demographics. I guess not surprisingly to some, Black and Hispanic student numbers were reduced significantly. Now you could come back and say, well, the MIT student is typically not that demographic. But now when we start getting numbers in for state schools and public, so that'll be interesting. If schools start abandoning DEI, then companies just won't give a shit. I mean, so schools to me are big indicators as to where the world is going to go. But yeah, it's may you live in interesting times. May you live in interesting times. And speaking of diversity issues, one that's not talked about so much is age. I think age and weight are two prejudices that don't get enough attention. So thankfully, Indeed, being the dumbasses they are on occasion, have a reason for us to talk about it. A recent Indeed report has been called ageist after it labeled workers aged 45 as, quote, late career and 55 plus as, quote, in decline. Lindsay Simpson, the founder and CEO at 55 Redefined Group, called out Indeed for what she sees as, quote, blatantly ageist and irresponsible content, end quote. She argued that Indeed's content perpetuates harmful stereotypes and undermines the potential of older workers. Indeed eventually took the guide down, saying, quote, the content was wrong, period, end quote. But the damage may have already been done. JT, what are your thoughts on ageism?
I can't even wrap my head around the fact that somebody put that out there. Where was the fact checker on that? Who was making sure that didn't get published? Job seekers are already very defensive about age discrimination.
Here's the fact checking room we have right now.
I mean, that is like one of the biggest things that I hear. Anybody over the age of 40 right now is petrified of age discrimination, and understandably so. And then for them to decline? Are you kidding me? So insensitive, so negative. But, what I'm seeing is a lot of really talented people landing incredible jobs because of their experience, if they know how to brand it. And I think that's the one thing that we haven't done a good job in our country, is helping people understand that as you get older and you get more experience, you climb the job pyramid. We talk a lot about this. And so all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're in the major leagues because there's a lot fewer jobs and a lot of people competing for those jobs. So people assume over time it's just going to get easier and easier for me to get a job as I get more experience. It's not how it works. All of a sudden, as you get up there, you're playing major leagues. And I think that for experienced workers is a scary thing. Good news is we can teach them a lot of things to really showcase those skills and be a valuable asset. I also think, going back to remote work, fractional is huge and hot, and I predict it will stay huge and hot, which is, you have an incredible skill set. Don't go to work full time for someone. Go do 10 hours a week for 3 companies and make 3 times the money. That is a great way to go. But we haven't trained people to think that way. And so the technologies and things that are being built are going to afford those folks to do that, right? And say, okay, I'm making enough to pay my own insurance and things like that. So that part gets really exciting for me. Second act careers, making more money than you made before is all possible over 50, but you have to know how to approach it, leverage the right technology, brand yourself correctly. And so if you're over 50, you're just beginning. Don't listen to that junk.
All right. Can we officially cancel Indeed now? Let's just cancel Indeed, everybody. I'm kidding. I mean, my view of this is some 23-year-old intern probably made this content and didn't think twice about it. And then someone said, oh shit, because it was called out. I mean, for where people are living now, healthy lives, longer lives, it's a shame that we would even consider labeling 45 as like that, or 55 plus. And then you come on this podcast and talk about video and algorithms and automated and like people over 40 have to be scared shitless about the future. What makes this additionally bad is Indeed promotes itself as like Captain Inclusive. I mean, they literally have a movie called Rising Voices, which highlights diversity and inclusion. Their CEO is uber DEI. So like, if this were ZipRecruiter, I'd probably give them a pass. Somebody in Santa Monica, like on the beach, put this together. But Indeed does not get a pass on this. Like they should know better. And just for that, they get a big boo from me. Again, ageism we don't talk enough about. I think weight, and even on the younger, like there's prejudice that we don't talk about, and we should. So if nothing else, we had a moment of talking about ageism and saying like old people like me, I won't call you. I don't know your age, so I know.
I'm 56.
I know your experience.
Just turned 56. I'll own
56.
it. Yeah, 56.
Doesn't look a day over
I'm on
26.
the decline. I'm on the Indeed decline.
I need to go to you for age tips. 50 proud Gen Xers. Let's leave it at that.
Right.
Let's leave it at that. And when we come back, we'll talk about LinkedIn doing the dumb thing.
Are you looking to boost your job ads performance? And are you looking to empower your recruiters to connect with your candidates at a much deeper level? Well, video is the best way. Collecting authentic video content from your employees, talking about why they love working for your company and why they've been there for X amount of years, absolutely skyrocket your metrics, such as your application rates, improving your SEO, driving more traffic to your career site, and even attracting better candidates that are sick and tired of the good old job ad jargon that they see out there in the world. JobPixel is trusted by some of the top companies in the world, such as Cognizant, US Cellular, Boston Medical Center, Arkansas Children's Hospital, and many more. Reach out to our team today to get a custom business case showing you how to improve your metrics at a level you've never seen before. We can't wait to show you what video can do. Thanks.
All right, JT, let's talk a little LinkedIn. In partnership with iHeartRadio, they've launched Let's Talk Offline, a podcast aimed at Gen Z, that's your peeps, professionals, focusing on career navigation and personal values. The initiative is part of a broader collaboration between LinkedIn and iHeartMedia to expand professional content through podcasts. The podcast will cover topics like salary negotiation and is available on various platforms, in addition to iHeartRadio, LinkedIn, and other major podcasting services. JT, is this thing going to be chart-topping or destined for the dustbin with Gen Z?
Yeah, so I'm not going to say dustbin. I don't know that it'll necessarily be chart topping, but I do think it hits an unmet need in the market. So when we're talking to Gen Z on a daily basis, they are really trying to figure out this work-life balance thing, and they're not going to seek that advice from their parents because they don't want the life that their parents had. They identify with their own generation talking through these things. And so when you look at who's hosting it, right, a pair of Gen Zs, and just the whole nature of it, you know, the work life, the understanding of it, how to wrap our head around it, how to make decisions around it. I think it's timely. I think that if it's done right, they'll get some following. Do I think it's going to be something everyone obsesses over? No. But I do think it hits an unmet need. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Well, JT's bullish on LinkedIn. I have a different opinion whatsoever.
Nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
All right. So we had ZipRecruiter last week. They've launched a podcast. When blogs were cool, there was a period where every corporation had to have a blog, because if we're going to be cool and create content and show up on Google, like we gotta have a blog, and they all sucked. No one shared posts, no one comment, like there was no engagement whatsoever. So a few still have blogs, but they're mostly for just content and SEO. Podcasts are the same thing. All the cool kids are podcasting, the Joe Rogans, the Call Me Daddy, like everything that's fun and cool has a podcast. And now every corporation thinks, well, we need a podcast too. So ZipRecruiter launches Talent All-Stars, which is a horrible name. They're in week 3 or 4 of this podcast. As of this recording on Thursday, they have 14 reviews. 14. They employ over 1,000 people, JT. Can't they send a group message and say, hey, leave us a review on our new podcast? No, 14. Okay. So now LinkedIn comes along and says, well, we'll do you one better. We're going to be cool with the kids. We're going to have a Gen Z show. Could it work? Yeah. Is LinkedIn the one to do it? No. If this becomes a thing, it'll actually be someone 27 that has some experience and brings in other people. And it's not going to work as a LinkedIn. And by the way, iHeartRadio, these are radio. When was the last radio station your kids listen to? The only ones I listen to are the ones that I listen to because they're stuck in the car with me going somewhere. iHeartRadio is not the right partner. Partner with Spotify, partner with the cool kid on campus, not iHeartRadio. So anyway, I'll stop from here, but I don't see this taking off with the kids whatsoever. It's way too fabricated. It's way too manicured. It's LinkedIn. It's my parents' social media. No way.
Yeah, okay, but I'm going to challenge you on two fronts. First of all, they started a podcast network in 2023. They've been at this for a while. They dive into deep into things and have a roster of podcasts that they're leveraging. Secondly, do not underestimate the power of the video feed that's coming out on that app. It's insane. And when 1 billion users are looking at video, it's going to be a game changer. So they have an opportunity now to take that video, put it on other platforms where Gen Z is, and educate them and draft them over to LinkedIn. And so I do not say it's out. I actually love these moves. I've seen the direct impact of that video feed. It is a game changer. You know, when I was in the beta and they drop a video in there, I'd go, what the heck is going on? Why is every light going off? Right? Because of the surge. So they know what they're doing. And like I said, is it a chart topper? Is it a call me daddy? No. Right. But
okay, JT. Okay.
Yeah.
Name me one of these podcasts that you champion.
What of theirs?
Yeah.
Oh no.
You said they have all.
No, they have a roster. Doesn't mean I
shows?
listen to all of them, but they have a roster of shows that are designed to help people understand career or various issues. And you know, I think them researching and doing that is they've always had the ability to experiment, right, and learn and grow from that. So, yeah, I just wouldn't count them out yet.
Well, like most things in life, time will tell, and hopefully you'll come back on the show and we can talk about LinkedIn's uber successful podcast, which leads us, JT, to our dad joke of the week. Are you ready for this?
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
What do you call two average white guys?
I don't know.
A podcast. So we're talking in the green room. You haven't seen the SNL skit. I'm going to play it on the show in case you haven't seen this as well. It's pretty funny. Give me a second here if I can.
All right.
Oh, God. It's not going to be the same working here without you, Phil.
I'm going to miss you guys. Truly sucks you're getting fired just because people can't take jokes anymore. I guess I should have just deleted my old podcast the moment I got the promotion.
It's just not fair. So now we can't even use the N-word to describe people anymore?
Guess not. Well, we all chipped in, and we got you something, Phil.
Introducing the new Fisher-Price podcast set for white guys. Now you can shout every crazy thought in your head without ruining your life. It doesn't record anything at all.
Wait, I probably shouldn't podcast anymore. I promised my bitch wife that
Phil, we're white guys. We need to be able to say every dumb thing into a microphone and not get in trouble.
It's just how God made us.
The new Fisher-Price podcast set for white guys comes with a mic, headphones, and a soundboard that doesn't record.
Welcome back to the Mind Dojo. I'm Phil, and we got a ton of stuff to get into today.
Plus, a battery life of 3 hours minimum. So you and your inflatable co-host can rant about everything you want. Like sports.
I mean, when you think about it, I'm blacker than Colin Kaepernick. That's so funny, man.
Entertainment.
If there was a show called Whitish, the left would lose their minds.
You're so right. Totally.
And science.
Sorry, Big Pharma. I'm not just gonna put some crap in my body without doing my own research first. Anyway, today's podcast is sponsored by Diamond Hog Male Enhancement Gummies. Look, guys, I don't know what's in this stuff, but it works. If you want to get as hard as a diamond...
What the hell are you doing?
It's not what you think.
You promised me you wouldn't podcast anymore.
This is the new Fisher-Price podcast set for white guys. It doesn't record.
Fisher-Price? So it's a toy?
Yep, and I can say whatever I want now, and I can never get canceled, even the N-word.
Why do you need to do that?
Because if I don't, they win.
Who's they?
All of them. We can't let them beat us.
Wait, is that camera on?
Yes.
So you are recording this?
Just for my live stream.
That doesn't make sense.
How else am I supposed to get donations, Sharon?
New Fisher-Price podcast set for white guys. Get yours wherever technical gear is sold.
Ages 34 and up.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
It explains so much. It does. Explains so much.
All right, JT. Hopefully I made your day a little brighter. All right. Thanks for joining us in absence of Chad. For those that want to connect with you, learn more, where do you send them?
Yeah. Head on over to workitdaily.com.
And with that,
plain and simple,
we out.
We out.
Thank you for listening to, what's it called? A podcast.
the Chad, the cheese. Brilliant. They talk about recruiting. They talk about technology. But most of all, they talk about nothing. Just a lot of shout-outs of people you don't even know. And yet you're listening. It's incredible. And not one word about cheese. Not one. Cheddar, blue, nacho, pepper jack, Swiss. So many cheeses and not one word. So weird. Anywho, be sure to subscribe today on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. That way you won't miss an episode. And while you're at it, visit www.chadcheese.com. Just don't expect to find any recipes for grilled cheese. It's so weird. We out!